How you going? My name's Colin and I'm here to help. Today we've been talking about running your vehicle on 100% used veggie oil. Fish and chip oil out of deep frying vats, waste oil from restaurants, etc. which I let sit for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then I take the oil off the top of the container and put it through a series of filters, a water separator, and then I put it into the tank of my vehicle. This is a Toyota 60 series. It's a 1983 Toyota Land Cruiser. It's got a straight 6 diesel engine called a 2H, which is about a 4 litre diesel engine. This is push rods before they started using timing belts. So very much old school, and they reckon you get 1,000,000 kilometres if you look after these engines. So to run it on veggie oil, you have to warm up the vegetable oil before it goes into the engine. And the way you do this is to have a second tank. So I've got a second tank up on the roof here, which is a diesel tank. So when I start up, I'm on diesel, which comes out of this tank here. Now I've opened up the box. Now the tank needs to be able to breathe, let air into the tank while the fuel's coming out. Luckily there's a little bit of a hole in the seal on the cap, and this holds about, I don't know, 60-70 litres. I've yet to organise a fuel gauge. So fuel comes out, around, out through here, down through here, down through the front of the vehicle. So it comes down the bull bar. I've built this bull bar and roof rack in here, down through here, in through the front, up under there to a filter. I'm using a cab filter with a water separator underneath it. So the fuel comes in here, out there, and then around down to a Polac valve, and then into the injector pump. So when I start up, I'm on veggie oil, on diesel in the vehicle itself. I've just got a switch down here, so when it's down, that's running on diesel off the roof. When it's up, it's running on veggie oil. So what I do is start it up on diesel. Up here I've got a temperature gauge which is telling me how warm the vegetable oil is. So the gauge that's on the dashboard tells me the water temperature. Now the water is coming out of the back of the engine. Where are we? It's coming out of the back of the engine into let's have a think. Okay, so it's coming out of the back of the engine into a heat transfer plate. This is a 50 layered heat transfer plate. If I pull this back, you might be able to see the layers in there. Okay, so hot water comes in, hot water goes out at the bottom and around back into the engine. The oil comes out of the tank at the back. So underneath the vehicle I have a 150 litre long range fuel tank in the back there. That's where the spare wheel used to be. There's the diff there. There's a new tank I put in up the back there. So that's 150 litres. Anyway, it comes out of that on that line there, goes into another heat transfer plate which I've mounted. Okay, that's looking straight into it. Up in here, like there's the back wheel there. So I've mounted it on a plate which comes off the body of the vehicle. So this is a 30 plate. The other one up in the front is a 50. So the water that comes from the engine would come up underneath the driver's seat and go up into a heater. Now that water that was heating that heater has now been bypassed and comes down and goes in to this heat transfer plate, and out of the heat transfer plate the cold vegetable oil comes in from the tank, gets heated, comes out of the heat transfer plate and heads up to the front of the engine through this line here. That's a non-return valve, somehow I was getting air back into the line up near the engine and it was all draining back to the tank. So non-return live valve, all 5/16. So from there it comes up to the front of the engine bay. We'll grab this. Let's see if we can get some light in here as well. So, okay, looking down into the engine, comes up. It's all rather hard to see, isn't it? Okay, so it comes up from that heat transfer plate at the back into here, into this other heat transfer plate which I showed you before. It's a little bit hard to hold a light in there at the same time. So yeah, cold oil comes in, hot oil comes out. Well, the oil's already been warmed once at the back and the heat transfer plate at the back, so it comes in there, out of here, into the temperature gauge sensor, which is the one that goes to the dashboard. From there up to another cab filter, which is mounted on this piece of steel in here. So the diesel filter, and then the oil filter, which has got its own primer. From there it goes down to the valve, and then from the valve into the engine. And then there's another filter here which is your standard filter with a bleed nozzle on it, which I've got a tube on it to make it easier to bleed. So if I ever get air in the line, I can open this one, put that into a bottle, and then instead of having to climb down into the injection pump and press the primer down there, I can actually do it from standing on the side of the vehicle here, which makes life a lot easier. So there you go. I suppose one other thing, when I'm in the cab, I get up to say 60 degrees here, which takes me about maybe 5-8 minutes travelling on diesel. When that's up to 60, I flick it over. When I flick it over, a little LED light comes on here on the dashboard and tells me that we're running on veggie oil. And yeah, that's pretty much it, folks. I'm carrying spare fuel filters with me at all times, so if I get a blockage on the road, I can just flick it over. And it's pretty cool travelling down the beach in four-wheel drive, drinking a cold beer out of the fridge in the back, which I've got a solar panel up above the windshield here, so that also keeps a lot of the light off the front windshield. So yeah, solar powered, got dual battery, which I'm putting over here with an isolator, and the running battery here, the solar panel. Might as well get into that while we're here as well. Solar panel comes off from up here. This is a Uniflex panel, so no glass. It sits up over the front windshield to keep the sun off the front windshield. It comes into a solar controller, and from here to the battery, and then from here into the stereo, the fridge I've got in the back, and a sub. And then on the dashboard I've got a couple of gauges to tell me what's in each battery. Anyway, thanks for looking. I'll upload this onto YouTube, and happy travelling.